The harmattan wind carried red dust through the streets of Enugu that December morning. It coated the trees, the rooftops, the shoes of mourners who had gathered too early. I stood at my mother's grave with a fist full of earth, my fingers clenched so tightly my knuckles burned. Around me, relatives whispered. Aunties exchanged knowing looks. Uncles shifted uneasily. But I couldn't let the soil fall, because the moment it left my hand, I would have to accept the truth, that my mother was gone, and I wasn't ready. My name is Adoyeze Okonkwo, and this is the story of how I learned that some things must be released before they release us. 3 months before my mother died, she gave me a wooden box. We were sitting on the veranda of our family compound, watching the sun sink slowly into the evening sky. She had grown thinner, her wrapper hanging loose on her frame, but her eyes still held that familiar fire, the kind that once silenced markets and commanded rooms. "Adam," she said softly, "I want you to keep something for me." She placed the box in my hands. It was carved from dark Iroko wood, heavy and warm, covered in spiral patterns that seemed to move when I stared too long. There was no lock, no hinge, no opening. "How do I open it?" I asked. She smiled, that knowing smile that always meant she was 10 steps ahead of me. "You'll know when it's time." She made me promise not to force it open, so I promised, because that's what daughters do. 2 weeks later, our lives split in two. Stage 4, pancreatic cancer. The doctor spoke carefully, gently, as if kindness could soften finality. My mother sat upright, nodding calmly, like he was discussing weather or transport fares. That night, I tried to open the box. I twisted it, pulled at it, searched for seams. Nothing. And that was when I began fighting the wrong battle. I tried to be the perfect daughter. I moved back home, canceled opportunities, built schedules, charts, lists, anything that gave me the illusion of control. I sorted pills by color, measured vitals 3 times a day, researched treatments across continents. I fought doctors. I fought statistics. I fought reality itself. And all the while, my mother watched me with quiet sadness. "You're doing too much," she said one evening. I told her I was taking care of her. She told me I was hiding. Christmas came loud and crowded, pretending to be normal. Relatives filled the compound. Laughter tried to convince us that death wasn't already among us. For a brief moment, it almost worked. But visitors leave. Cancer does not. By January, my mother was weaker. I bathed her, fed her, held water to her lips. "Talk to me," she said one afternoon, "about the life you are not living." She asked me to bring the box. When she held it, she finally told me what it was. An ofo, a promise keeper, a container for the things we cling to too tightly. "What's inside?" I asked. She looked at me and smiled. "What did you put inside?" She told me to stop forcing it, to simply let it open. So I held it gently. And it opened. Inside was a mirror. I saw myself, exhausted, afraid, hollowed out by control disguised as love. And for the first time, I understood. I wasn't fighting for her life. I was fighting against loss. And loss always wins. "Let me go," my mother said. I told her I couldn't. She told me love doesn't possess. It honors. It holds and then releases. That night, I cried like a child, and she held me, still teaching me even then. My mother died on a Tuesday morning. I wasn't there. I had gone to the market because she mentioned wanting pepper soup. When I returned, my father stood at the gate, And I knew. At the burial, I stood again with a fist full of earth. My grandmother came to me. She asked what I had learned. I told her I had been holding water in my fists. She nodded. So I opened my hand. The earth fell onto the casket, not as surrender, but as blessing. 3 months later, I boarded a plane to New York, not healed, but healing. I carried the box with me. Every night I opened it and looked, and slowly I began to live. Life in New York was loud, fast, indifferent, but it was mine. I made friends, failed at pottery, laughed again, and grief stopped being the only thing I carried. I returned home one Christmas. Enugu felt smaller, warmer, sacred. I visited my mother's grave and told her I was living the life she wanted for me, the life I had been too afraid to claim. And for the first time, the sadness didn't crush me. It rested beside me. 2 years later, I held my daughter for the first time. Perfect, small, breathing. I named her Ada Yugo and called her Ada. That night, I told her about a wooden box, about mirrors, about love that knows when to hold and when to release. One day, I will give her the box, but for now, I hold her close, breathing in, breathing out, holding on, letting go, living fully in the space between.